Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll start slowly because people may trickle in. I'm Teresa Kavanagh, City Councillor for Bay Ward. And tonight we have an application from the Granite Curling Club for an address on Queensview Drive. And we're going to hear from Greg Matthew to do a presentation on it. We also have city staff here. We have the planner, Molly Smith, who can answer questions in regards to the planning side of it, what the city's expectations are, and how the applicant meets them. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to you, Greg, and I don't know if you have anyone else along with you besides yourself, because I know you have two screens there.
Yes. Well, Ken Hopner is here, and Ken is with Marley Hopner, and they are the developer and design builder that the club is working with on the project.
Excellent.
So I will now work to share my screen. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Connie, so you gave him the ability to be a co-host. Is he able to share a screen? Can you check that, please?
Connie, you might have given it to the one that has my picture, and you have to give it to the one that unfortunately doesn't have my picture. Yes, I just gave it to the second
Greg. I just gave it to the second Greg now.
I'm sorry.
Your split personality. Got it.
Okay, I think we have it up now.
Yes.
Yes, we do. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you folks for joining us this evening, and it's a pleasure to talk to you about the excitement around the Granite Curling Club planned move to the Queensview Drive address. I have a short presentation, and then I can answer any questions about the club and our operational aspects. And Ken Hopner, as I noted, is here. And if there's more technical questions, Ken's prepared to answer those. So the club was founded in 1953. And interestingly, it was the first club in the area to curl exclusively with granite rocks. So although that seems rather absurd today, back in 1953, there was all sorts of irons and other type of things that were being used in the game of curling. The club opened in 1954, which of course means we're approaching 68 years of age of the current building. We've grown from a modest beginning, 176 members, to a club that serves over 500 active members and operates 7 days a week. At the semi-annual meeting in April of 2017, the club treasurer reported that the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation assessment on the club property for the 4 years, 2017 to 2020, had doubled, meaning our city property taxes had doubled as a result. The city has no mechanism for supporting not-for-profit organizations that have recreation facilities at this point in time. So we pay the same tax rate as a residential tax rate. And then a doubling of the property taxes is a heavy load on a membership of around 500. But that also pointed us to the fact that every 4 years we were going to meet the same impact assessment. And we were in a corridor where there's a lot of development going on. So due to the planned LRT expansion to the Westboro Station, which is about 60 meters from the club, and the resultant high density development along Scott Street, the future impact assessments on the club of property would drive property taxes to an unsustainable level for the club. So members voted to look at redevelopment options under specific guidelines, which included keeping the club in West Ottawa. In early 2019, a developer was selected for the club to work with to find a redevelopment option that met the club's criteria, and Marley Hopner, along with Colonnade Bridgeport, have worked with the club to find a suitable option. As I noted, our building is 68 years old. The current property is in an area that has been targeted for high density residential development. The Queensview site is within the club's catchment area. The vast majority of our members are from West Ottawa, and the club wishes to continue to serve the community within West Ottawa. Prior to COVID, the club operated with over 500 active curling members. In 2020, only 200 or so members curled due to the restrictions. And of course, we opened and closed a number of times as the various stages changed. This coming season, the upcoming season, we have over 350 curlers returning to curl. The club offers leagues for day curlers in the hours between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. weekdays, and evening curlers from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. on weekdays. The weekends have various mixed and youth programs that are well attended. The club offers learn to curl programs for youth and adults. For youth, the program is called Little Rocks, and for adults, it's called Rookie Rocks. The membership fee structure is set out here. An adult would pay $530 for a season, a rookie $410, a student $380, and youth $110. And then the club also has a social member category for members that have been active curlers and are no longer able to curl. So this is what's termed an architectural rendering of the building. It's a two-story building. We don't have a basement in this building. We have a ground floor and a second floor in the area outside of the ice shed. And then the ice shed is the longer part of the body that goes to the south towards the Queensway. The facade you're looking at right now is west facing, and to the left is to the north, and that's where Queensview Drive is. So this is, an architectural interpretation of how our building can fit into the current and probably the proposed neighborhood, as things will likely be changing along Queensview Drive over time. This is the simplest version of the site plan, and it shows a couple of key things. The blue line that's all around the facility that I'm tracing with the arrow indicates the setbacks that we are required from either the city on the north, west, and east sides, and to the south, a 14-meter setback from the ramp for the Ministry of Transportation. So within that blue line is where we can build. We can't build any permanent structure outside of that. As you see, we have 4 curling ice sheets, which is exactly what we have now. We have lounge facilities and a kitchen and a bar area that supports the members' social functions. We would have 2 exits and 1 entrance off of Queensview Drive. The entrance exit would be at the west end of the property, and there'd be a one-way exit on the east side of the property as well. So the new facility aspects are that although there's the same number of ice sheets, our current facility has a sand floor. This will have a concrete floor, which will give it more utility. We cannot touch the sand floor in the off season, obviously. We will have modern HVAC system, which will allow off-season use for member social events. Accessibility is fully planned, including having an elevator that services the 2 floors and the level of the ice surface. The social space that allows for post-game refreshments and viewing of the curling. I'd make the point that there's no restaurant service on site. The club allows the leagues that curl to bring in snacks and to have catered events from time to time during the year. The club is membership-based and it's not open to the public. Our not-for-profit status doesn't allow us to compete with the private sector for bar, restaurant services, or event hosting. We have a long-range planning committee that will engage with the community to provide opportunities for membership and learn to curl events. And then community events that occur in the curling off season, which is May to August, will be considered on a case-by-case basis. So the projected milestones for the project are sometime October, November, site plan approval obtained from the city. That's not guaranteed, but it's what we're aiming for. December, to have a building permit issued for the new club facility to be built. There's a current building on site that would be demolished in February, March. And then in March, April, there'd be a commencement of the construction of the new build with the target of completing it in December of 2022. And the term commissioning means that the facility is ready to be used as a curling facility. So that's an overview of the club and how we currently function and operate and what we're looking forward to being able to do on Queensview Drive. And I guess, Madam Chair, if there's any questions or if somebody else wants to add to that, please do so.
Thank you very much, Greg. Since we have a smaller group here, I don't think there's any problem with people raising their hands and speaking rather than using the chat function, which we use when we have a larger number of people to keep it orderly and to make sure the questions get answered. But I would suggest people raise their hand so that we can see what they're interested in asking a question. And so feel free to raise your hand. If not, I'll ask questions myself because I've heard from the community on a couple of things. So, oh, we've got a question. We have questions. Okay, no worries. Okay, we can start with Kathy, and then we can have Scott and then Annette. Okay, how's that?
Thank you. I've heard some of this presentation before, but I appreciate hearing it again. Maybe my question is for the city planner. There has been concern in the community about whether this proposal preserves the space along Queensview for biking infrastructure in the future. Under the new official plan, we worked with the planners to build that into the plans for Queensview, but this proposal will still be under the previous plan. So there's a concern about having enough right-of-way on both sides of Queensview for the inclusion of biking infrastructure in the future. That's something that our community really wants to see. So I'm wondering if this proposal allows for that.
Okay, Molly, you can take that. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks for your question, Kathy. So the current site plan, it's reviewed under the current OP. So while the new OP does have, it's identified Queensview as having the cycling infrastructure along it, the current plan doesn't have that plan. So we have to review the plan against the current OP. We have provided comments to the applicant that, we're looking in the future and this is what's planned. So we'd like to have room provided at least. And so while we can't identify the lanes at this moment, we can certainly try and make sure that future landscaping isn't impacted or any other site features so that when those cycle lanes do come in, they can go in smoothly.
Thank you, Molly. We'll go on to Scott and then Annette.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Please excuse my, I'm in my son's room. So if you see the action figures in the background, my wife's in my office on a Zoom. Quick question for, I believe it was Greg. Is it Greg? Yeah. Thank you, Greg, for the overview. Regarding the restaurant, is there, I didn't catch it on the slide. Will there be a kitchen available for if you have events at the club to bring in, like what will be available as far as to use in the club for food?
What I said in the presentation was that we won't have a restaurant. We will have a kitchen
Okay, you'll have a kitchen.
90 to 95% of what comes into the building has to be reheated. So we'll probably have a lot of induction heaters and we are going to have a couple of convection ovens. When we have events, normally they're catered. So a caterer would show up with the food and use our kitchen to rewarm it or keep it warm and deliver it to us.
Thank you for that. Is there, will be the change room facility, there's a lockers? I didn't notice if there's a basement to this facility. There
is no basement. There is a second floor. And
second floor. Okay.
On the second floor is where the locker rooms are, both for men and women. The elevator actually goes to that floor as well. And then we have a second viewing area.
Perfect.
That overlooks the ice. So both from the ground floor and from the second floor, you can see the 4 ice sheets, which will help us when we have events where more people want to watch and they don't want to all stand behind each other in the glass.
Thank you. And one last question. I apologize for Councillor Kavanagh. I know that I live in the community. I live in Queensview Terrace North, and I know there's talk of having a right-of-way through the neighborhood to access Queensview. I don't know if, I know that the current right-of-way for pedestrian traffic is closed. Is there a plan in place to purchase a house or land, or that's the rumor, is that they're going to build a new one?
All I can tell you right now is it's being looked at. Because it involves real estate, I cannot be specific, but it is definitely being looked at.
They're trying to do it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's all I can say at the moment.
No problem. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Scott, was there anything else, Scott?
No, that's good.
Okay, thanks. Annette, and then Lucas.
Oh, hi. I'm not even a curler, but I'm very excited to have the curling club so close by. I think curling is something, it's a great lifelong sport and social from, a young age up. I'm excited that there's something in Queensview Terrace North so close that youth and younger people can partake in, because right now there's, not a lot of things. So I'm a big supporter of the club in that sense. And I'm just curious from a real estate point of view, what happens to the space off season? I'm just thinking, are there opportunities there, not to get in your space of what you do as a nonprofit? But I'm always curious. It's like schools or like churches off season from Sunday. Like what happens with real estate like that? I'm just asking the gentleman that did the presentation, Teresa.
Yeah.
Right. Well, over the last 68 years, what has happened is virtually nothing because of the sand floor that was in the ice shed and the fact that we didn't have air conditioning in the social areas of the facility. So now with a move to the newer building, we'll have some amenities that we didn't have available to us before. And as I said in the presentation, we're open to looking at community type of events in our off season, which is generally May to August. We have about a September to April curling season. So if someone wants to organize a bike day or an indoor or outdoor type of market or something of that nature, we don't need to charge people a lot because as I say, we can't compete with the private sector because of our not-for-profit status. So we're not going out to try and be a rental group, but we would like to work with the community. And if there are things that we can do to support some community activities in that off season, we'd love to do it.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you, Greg.
Can I ask one other question? Unless someone has others.
No, go ahead, Annette. Go ahead. So
what is your vision or wish? You said you have 500 members in your current location. Are you looking to maintain that or grow? Like what's your capacity at the new club in terms of membership?
Well, because we've had this downturn, by the time we get to the new club, we won't have that same number of members that we had prior to COVID. So we'll be doing a membership drive. There's not much question about it. And we'll have a a group of long-range planning committee members making contact with the community before we actually open. The way curlers typically come in are one of two ways. They come from another club because there's more convenience, or believe me, it's never about the price, it seems, with the curlers, because they just want good ice and they want a few other things. But adults would come into what are called rookie rocks. They would go from about September to Christmas, learning the game from in-house instructors and coaches. And then they would filter into teams after Christmas and become league players. Sometimes they form their own team. They get to, they're a rookie group and they go to the very bottom of the leagues. And then 3 or 4 years later, you see them in one of the upper leagues. So that's one way to do it. And then the other is the youth programs with the Little Rocks. And then eventually they grow from Little Rocks to juniors, and then the juniors come into the program as well and become the really good curlers in the club.
Yes. Thank you. That's really exciting. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Annette. Lucas.
I may ask that, my apologies if you already mentioned this because I came slightly late to this meeting, but with your, how many parking spots is there again, sorry, in this development? Is it 37 or something like that?
Well, do you remember, were you here when I put up the site plan?
Yes.
Page? Yes. So, and I showed the blue outline of
yes.
where we can build within.
Yeah.
Well, the spaces that are in the Ministry of Transportation allocation aren't really part of the number, but we need a certain number of parking spaces for the club because we have, in theory, we have 32 people on the ice, 4 ice sheets, have 2 teams of 4. So there's 32 people on the ice. And then there's 32 people waiting to go on the ice. So we have that kind of overlap, plus staff and social members. So overall, there's 74 parking spots, but I believe the required number of parking spots is 37. Where we are now currently, we have 94 parking spots. So we're downsizing by 20 in this move. And it could be over time because of the location. And once the LRT gets to functioning 100% or whatever its best hope is, we'll be able to downsize that number of parking spots as well.
It's I just I understand like with being close to LRT, but I guess for one thing, it's one thing of general spectators going there and maybe using LRT, but I guess I don't know anything about curling per se, but it's for anyone that actually is doing the curling that's going to be going there. Is it? I would suspect. I don't know if they want to be going by LRT with all their baggage, and they would be going. So I don't know if if there's a sufficient for these people that are going to be going to the who's going to be curling, that it might be driving, and for them those people to be able, if they want to drive, and if there'll be enough parking space for them. But it's for the spectators, they can most likely, if there would be, assuming that they were taking LRT, but it's so is there on the east side, is that I see those rectangles on the edge, are those parallel parking spots?
Yeah, I think there's 6 parallel parking spots on the east side.
And it does, I don't know the area really well, but is there allowed on-street parking over there or no?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, I just thought if it's the ratio or just I don't think, but it's but just I don't know, is there when people are curling, do they have to bring heavy bags or something like that, or with all this stuff, or is it pretty convenient?
No. Most people, 90% of the curlers will have lockers and will be leaving their equipment there from game to game.
Okay, yeah, I just thought I might match just if it's convenient for people or something with the ratio of parking spots. That's all I ask. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Lucas. I know those questions came up on Facebook about how many parking spots, because it says 37 on the the application, but it's actually 74. So that's good to know, and good to point out the ratios of how many people are on the ice, and then the next shift coming on. So people get an idea of how many people are coming on and off. And Did you have Lucas?
I just I'm just reason why did it state on the dev app that is 37 when it's actually much more than that. I'm just curious why it's not being very truthful in that explanation or some of that, if I may ask, because that's kind of misleading, I would say, right?
I think that's a question for Molly in terms of what the minimum requirement is, but I'll let her answer.
Yeah, thanks for noting that mistake though on DevOps. I'll make sure that that's corrected and reflected, and you should notice that corrected in the next few days. I didn't realize that it had the wrong parking count on there.
Yeah, it's not very, doesn't really help people when they kind of like questioning about the parking spots, but it's good to say the right number, just to say that's good.
Yeah, good. I'll make sure that it's updated to reflect the current number.
And I can see, I saw from that layout of this site plan, it seems like you got still got some trees, plant area, vegetation, which is nice. Vegetation is always good for like atmosphere and stuff like that. So it's and do you in the future, I don't know if it's in the cards for financially, is for like electric vehicle charging stations, with anyone having electric vehicles in the future, because that's maybe a big thing in the future. So if there's any funding for that, if it being a nonprofit, Teresa, I don't know if that's your alley or not. It's because I guess that people are going to be there for a while. It might as well charge it if you want, right? So it's I don't know.
Actually, I'd be interested to, well, there's no requirement, I guess, at the moment. This could be something that would be in the new official plan in terms of ratios, but at the moment they're still going under the old rules. So I'll just talk to Molly and see what she can say about that, so we're up to date.
There's no requirement for electric vehicle charging stations at the moment. Might be in the future zoning bylaw, but that's not currently in the works. So I don't believe the plan provides any vehicle or electric vehicle charging stalls.
Okay, I just thought if it would be good to consider for any places that being built, like it's good to incorporate, because it just that's be the future, I guess, if we want to reduce emissions, right? So it's so good. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Excellent questions, and certainly all applications for development would be encouraged to do that. But we just don't have like a rule that we can make them do it, but they may see it as beneficial for their membership, because this is a member-driven organization, and their membership may request it as well. So, so that may be the reason why they consider it, because their members have requested it. So I suppose that's still a possibility. Thank you. Great questions. Is there any other questions? Thought I saw a hand up, another hand up. Oh, Kathy, you got another question?
I do. This one is not so much from the community and impacts, but I was interested this time in your presentation, you mentioned that the assessment had been a factor in why you were moving. And I'm curious, because you're moving to another hub zone where I'm sure the assessment is going to be high again. Just noted that. Was that thought about?
Oh, yes, very much so. There is a bit of a differential that allows us to have an ability to invest some funds that we won't be expending on purchasing the property and building a new facility that will allow us to address the the delta between the property taxes that we pay currently and what we'll be paying on the new site. So that's been built into our financial model.
Okay.
Great. And you get to have a nice fresh start with those nice new floors.
Having a floor is really nice, actually.
Who knew?
Our ice technician will not allow a human being to go on that sand floor.
Yeah. Novelty. Okay, well, it's still possible for people to send in questions if they have them, Greg. We can send them through our office if people write in, if there's still any further questioning. I appreciate that the question was asked about the streetscape, and I know that that's not directly related to you. I think there was something in the chat though about number of bicycle spots, bicycle racks. Was that? I don't know if you addressed that.
I didn't specifically, but we will be having them. But of course, in the being a winter sport, bicycles don't really apply all that much to people coming to participate. But we will have them regardless.
Good point. Unless they're
sorry, that was my point to say. So if you want to maximize your space, and if you want the community, it's an issue in our community right now to park. So when you asked about parking, there's no parking signs, just like there are fall leaves all over the community. So parking is an issue. So if there were to be any community events to maximize your space for seasons, then a bike rack along with the LRT would be great. But you will see people in the neighborhood that are biking in the winter. Teresa's probably one of them.
Actually, no. I'm not. I have I call it 3.5 season, but I put studded tires on, but I chicken out when it's real snow. No, thank you. Because that is, of course, what we want to see on Queensview is bike lanes eventually. So it'll be integrated in, and traffic is always a question. I don't think we're looking at you as high traffic, since what's going to be built around you is probably much more of an issue. But we welcome you to the community. I think I can say that for everyone. To have you as part of the community is great. Just so you know, I was at the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting this morning, looking at the master plan. And so parks and recreation were the hot topic today. And I reminded them that the bus depot shouldn't be there forever, and maybe we can put a recreation center there. So I'm still working on that angle. So maybe you'll have some company of other sportsy stuff in the long term. That's the hope and possibility. Lucas, did you have another question?
Yeah, I didn't hear about this club organization. I don't think so before this meeting. So I'm curious, sir, where do you currently have your facility?
It's down on Scott Street, just a little bit east of Churchill, and we're very close to the Westboro Transit Station.
Okay.
So a number of our members come from downtown from work and come right to the Westboro Transit Station, and we're only about 60 meters away from there.
Okay. I saw like in that.
It's not a building that would stand out, believe me.
It's pretty camouflaged, would you say?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we actually had the street artists of Westboro do murals on the side of our building. Our building is, the whole length of our building is along Scott Street. So there's murals down the side of it, but it doesn't really look like a curling facility per se.
And you, like, I think I saw it on your logo, like it's that organization has been in existence since 1953.
Correct. Yes.
So it's that's quite a long standing history for sure. It's so it's good. Like it's gets people together and more like a lot of gets the recreation and stuff like that. It's good. good stuff. So it's quite a good distance move, I would say, for going from over there to over here. But yeah, it's on Queensview. But it's for sure, it's great that you have the opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks very much, Lucas. Do you live in Queensway Terrace North? I'm just curious.
Sorry?
Do you live in Queensway Terrace North? Do you live close by?
Oh, not close. I live in Canada.
Oh, okay.
I just thought I'd like to take part in these consultations. It doesn't concern me at all, but I like to take, it gets me something to do during this pandemic thing. So yeah, no, I don't live in that area, no.
Well, you were very welcome and you asked excellent questions. Greg, you're moving over to another transit station. How far are you away? Are you 600 meters again from the station? I hadn't measured it, but it's probably...
they've done two measurements. So one from the Pinecrest station is 500 meters walking. And I believe from the Queensview station, it's a little over 600.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you'd be closer to that. Oh, that's great. So you're roughly for your membership, it's roughly the same that they can use the transit system. So that's great. So you already have transit users. That's good to know that your membership is using transit already. So it's not a culture change for them. Well, thank you very much. I'll close it up, but if anyone has any further questions, you can send them in, and we really appreciate again, Greg, that the club is coming to the community, to Bayward. So
well, thank you very much. We look forward to it.
Okay, take care. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.